Am I the asshole for letting my brother call me dad and refusing to tell him the ugly truth? I'm well aware that this story sounds extremely hard to believe and fake, and I'm aware that there will be many quote unquote shitposts comments below. Sorry, but this story is 100% true, and it is a hot topic of discussion in my family at the moment. I was born when my parents were both 19, and my only other brother, let's call him Josh, was born when they were 42. They divorced shortly after Josh was introduced to the world. He was 4 months old at the time. And they both wanted nothing to do with the child. At the time, I was 23 and I was living alone with my then girlfriend who was 21, now my wife. And I had done my best to convince at least one of them to take care of young Josh for his sake and the family's sake, but they refused adamantly and said that I should be taking custody of him instead. So I became legal guardian of my brother, and he's been living with us for the past 12 years, and things have been going really smooth for us. Josh, now almost 13, has been calling me dad and my wife mom, and our two other children, 4 female, 9 male, his siblings, and he has absolutely no idea about his real parents. And to be honest, I let all of that slide. He had no idea that I'm really his blood brother and not his father, and I'm starting to feel guilty and a little weird. Some of my uncles and aunts come to visit occasionally, and they are really disgusted at the fact that he calls me dad, and they are surprised that I haven't told him the truth yet. They are constantly messaging me, talking to me in private, and I cannot chat to them without this one particular topic rising up me to let him know already, but I refused. I discussed this with my wife, and she thought it would be wrong to tell him the truth because none of my parents wanted to take care of him, and I'm the only person in the world who gave him the quote-unquote father figure that everyone deserves. But I do feel that he has the right to know what he is to me and what I truly am to him, but he's suffered enough already, and I just want things to continue how it is. So, am I the asshole if I let him know the truth? Update. Am I the asshole for letting my brother call me dad and refusing to tell him the ugly truth? I went to my local therapist and told him about my situation and asked what to do. To keep it short, he said he's heard similar recounts from before and said it is best if I tell him as soon as possible for multiple reasons and to make sure that my bio children are present for multiple reasons. I asked a few of my closest friends, and the majority said more or less the same thing. My wife and I decided to sit the kids down and burst the big bubble. I asked my brother Josh to come closer, and I made sure I held him close and made him feel as comfortable as possible. He asked, "What's going on?" But I started by telling us how much we cared and loved for him. Then told him everything about my parents. I did put them in a bright light in hopes of a reunion, and who I am to him. Then quickly hugged him and my other 2 kids together and told him that I love all my children the same and nothing is going to change my love for him. He was shocked and asked if I was joking, but I was starting to cry a little at this point, so he knew I was serious. My bio children were very surprised too. He was in tears and asked me why I didn't tell him sooner. I didn't know what to say and said, "I was just trying to protect you. I'm sorry, and I hope you can forgive me." But unfortunately and understandably, he left. He didn't talk to me as much again, understandably so. I continuously offered him to go out to the park to play a little bit of football. He loves that and all of his favorite things. But he just outright declined and even got a little angry sometimes for me even talking to him. I thought I messed up big time until one day while my wife and 2 children were out shopping and we were alone, came up to me and said, "I know you're not my real father, but I want to let you know that you're the best dad in the whole world. I'm sorry for before." I hugged him and things got pretty emotional. It would be a big lie to say my house is normal now, far from that, but things are slowly, ever so slowly, starting to brighten up. There is no longer anything to hide anymore, and it feels like we are born again. Josh is a tough kid, and he handled this far better than I believed he would. I'll be looking into therapy for him to help him recover just in case it doesn't go well in the long run. I'll strive and continue to be a great dad to my kids and a great dad to my brother/son. Thank you all. Am I the asshole for telling my husband that he emasculates himself? For context, I was raised by my single father. He raised me to be totally self-serving, where I learned not only to cook, clean, etc., but to be my own quote-unquote handyman. This has led me to being very independent, especially around my house. My husband, on the other hand, was raised to expect everything done for him and never really learn any self-sustaining skills, but also raised to believe that the male is always right. Fast forward to last week, I needed to buy a new line trimmer as my old faithful finally gave up on life. I was busy with the kids and my husband said he would go pick it up for me. I told him which one I wanted and what brand all my power tools are. He said he understood, but when he came back, he had purchased one from a different brand. When I asked about it, he said he thought it was better and it was also cheaper than the one I wanted. This annoyed me, but I thought, whatever, he tried, move on. It wasn't until I looked at it, I realized he hadn't bought the battery pack to go with it. When I asked, he told me I could just use the batteries from my other tools. I tried to explain to him that this wasn't possible and why, but he didn't want a bar of it. A few moments later, he said, "Okay, my brothers are coming over and we can go back to the hardware store." I thought we would either be exchanging it or buying the battery pack, but I was so wrong. When we got there, he walked straight up to the tool shack and asked the tool specialist to explain to me how my Ruboy batteries would work perfectly fine in my new Makita line trimmer. Well, let's just say that this didn't go well. The tool guy that the battery charger pack cost more than the line trimmer itself. When we got home, it started. He was yelling at me about how I embarrassed him, how I'm constantly emasculating him, and how I should be a good wife and just stick to doing things appropriate for females. Well, this got to me and I snapped. I replied with, "The only person that's emasculating you is yourself. It's not my fault you never learned to be what you call a man," and I walked off. It's been a week now and he only speaks to me through the kids. It's got me thinking, am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for going to my dad's funeral against his widow's wishes? So, I'm the product of an affair. My dad's wife forgave him for getting my mom pregnant on the condition that she and their kids never have to see me or hear about me, and he couldn't see my mom. Even so, my dad was involved in my life right up until he died, and we were very close. After he died, I contacted some of his family members, not his wife or kids. I didn't want to upset them, and to ask if it would be okay for me to go to the funeral, and I just didn't get any replies. I ended up deciding that since I've never met his wife or kids or most of his family, they wouldn't even recognize me, so I could just quietly be at the back and not bother anyone. Turns out his wife did recognize me, I don't know how, and she interrupted the service to drag me out of the building and yell at me for being there. And then, when I tried to leave, she followed me to my mom's car and yelled at her. Now I'm embarrassed and guilty that I upset her and caused drama at the funeral and dragged my mom into it. My mom says I didn't do anything wrong because I couldn't have known my dad's wife would know what I looked like. But I'm not sure if she's just trying to make me feel better. I just wanted to say bye to my dad. I wasn't trying to cause any trouble. So, am I the asshole for going to my dad's funeral against his widow's wishes?